If you could only choose one habit that you'd tell everybody, sedentary or active, to adopt for a longer, better life, what would it be?
Is it something to do or something to not do?
You decide.
I would say no tobacco, no smoking, no vaping.
Love that answer.
Yeah.
Love. It's just
Across the board, no smoking cigarettes, no vaping, no tobacco of any kind, chewed tobacco, anything. I would say just no smoking. We've really come to a time period where there was like a period of time in like our generation where like smoking was like very uncommon. It was kind of almost like frowned upon. I remember smokers like trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And now there's like a weird, odd resurgence. I'm seeing ads with people smoking cigarettes, and I'm seeing like some Gen Zers like smoking, and it's kind of like people aren't judging them, and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
we cannot go back.
especially vaping, I feel like.
And vaping, it's just not beneficial. And I think the thing for anyone listening too is that it's highly addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Do not feel like you need to target this alone. There are literal medical therapies like varenicline. There's all these. There's protocols with like nicotine replacement. A doctor could with robust data for them that help people with cessation, with smoking cessation, with vaping cessation. You don't, of course, if you can go out alone, that's great too. But if you ever feel like you hit a wall and you're like, I keep, falling back on there, partner with your doctor. They can help you. I would say smoking cessation, reducing, not vaping. These are the biggest things, I think. And then second to that would probably be alcohol reduction.
Yeah. You were saying nicotine replacement.
Yeah.
Is tobacco, because I don't know this, is tobacco in and of itself addictive, or is it the nicotine that often comes?
It's the nicotine.
And would you rather them just have pure nicotine as opposed to
Well, you
tobacco?
use nicotine replacement in the when you are essentially trying to help someone titrate off, depending on how much they smoke or vape a day, will depend on the dose of nicotine replacement that you recommend, and then you try to titrate them off.
Okay.
But it depends, because if someone's smoking a pack a day, they're going to start off on a higher nicotine replacement than someone who's smoking like 2 cigarettes a day, or, and I don't know the quantity exactly of the vapes, because I think that depends. But there is like a way to essentially, there's like kind of an algorithm that you follow with regards to it. There's also all these myths that nicotine is good for you and beneficial, like nicotine in and of itself. And that's also based on a lot of, pseudoscience. Nicotine, the harms that we see, of course, with nicotine use in relation to tobacco use, of course, things like lung cancer, cardiovascular disease. But by no means would I tell people to start using nicotine. Nicotine is a useful tool in smoking cessation.
And when we're looking at the harmful effects of smoking, is it mainly derived from the tobacco and not so much the nicotine? The nicotine is just used as the addictive part of it?
Yeah, so it's mostly from the tobacco and like the free radicals and all of this stuff. But, it's tough because a lot of the outcome data, like, do we have really long-term data on like nicotine use alone, right? Because nicotine's been used as a replacement. I actually don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of the discussion around nicotine.
I know. And all I can say for sure, unequivocally right now, is that the purported like claims of benefits of nicotine are way made up. And so the exact risks of nicotine on its own, I am not tremendously aware of the exact RCTs for that. But I know for sure that whenever I see these claims about the benefits of nicotine, they are ridiculous and they're not based on science. Whenever you double click into the studies, they're, that's one thing also, your listeners, when someone's making a claim, go look through this lens. Look, what kind of study is it? Is it in a mouse? Immediately delete and ignore. Is it in a cell petri dish? Ignore. Not to say that science ignores it. That's called preclinical research, and you base hypotheses on that, and then you have to study it in humans, in randomized studies. But, a lot of these claims are based on, or like an N of 10, not adequately powered randomized control trials. So, but yes, I would say that if there was one thing, reducing smoking, getting rid of smoking, completely getting rid of smoking, completely getting rid of vaping, and reducing, ideally, alcohol.
Do you drink at all?
I feel like with my elderly late 30s of age, it's like...
Elderly late 30s.
No, I feel like when I turned 30, I feel like maybe it's also medical training really takes a lot out of you, but I feel like that, like if I had a glass of wine, I would be like, okay. But then like every year, I feel like every year that I've like gotten into later in my 30s, like, you have a glass of wine and then I have a headache the next day. So to be quite honest, I don't drink often, more because I do so much active stuff and therefore it would just impede in my routine.
Yeah.
You know?
But do you see an issue with like occasional glass of wine here and there?
So yeah, well, great question, because we do have data on this. You know, we used to say that moderate alcohol wine consumption is like beneficial, et cetera. No. So that's been completely, unfortunately, for the wine connoisseurs out there. Unfortunately, the data has shown us that actually no amount of alcohol is beneficial. It is all carcinogenic. It is all accelerates your risk for cardiovascular disease, increases your risk for high blood pressure, for atrial fibrillation. There's actually no marker in cardiovascular disease or even oncology that alcohol is beneficial for. That being said, we live in a world where saying everyone should be completely abstinent is so unrealistic, right? Yeah. You have to meet patients where they're at. So for me, yes, I explain to patients. I also don't think we should lie to patients and say, oh no, drinking, this much is fine. I will say to them, listen, in an ideal world, we know that no amount is beneficial. But for you, if maybe even just decreasing 25% has a meaningful value for you, or 50%, depending on what that is, that is a benefit. So we do recommend reducing. Obviously, no alcohol is the goal, but we're also realistic. It's also like saying to someone like, you should have, there's so many things. It's all within the nuance, right? So just mention to someone that obviously, like, we're not going to say any amount of anything. Like, smoking is good, right? But if I can, ideally, I get a patient to quit smoking completely. But if I can even get them at least to decrease their amount in the meantime, that's beneficial. But yes, unfortunately, the alcohol one has been a change in the recommendations, because there used to be a little bit of a gray area there, and now that's gone.
Can I tell you that since I started tirzepatide, I just don't want to drink.
Isn't that fascinating? You are not the only one. It's like so many patients say that.
I just don't want to drink.
So many patients say that. And you know what's an added benefit of that? What I've seen with so many of my patients, it's fascinating, is that it's, I'm looking forward to eventually the trials and the information on, of course, people with substance use disorder, because I'm hoping, I believe it's being studied, and I can't wait to see what that data shows. But what's fascinating, even for people without substance use disorder, just patients that like casually have 2 glasses of wine a night or 3 glasses of wine a night, the amount of the improvement, like the fact that when they stop drinking and they're on, Zepbound or Mounjaro or any sort of GLP-1, and the improvement in their blood pressure, the reduction in atrial fibrillation, the improvement in all of their biomarkers from the reduction in alcohol. I mean, it's so tremendous. It's such a win. And, it's just great, because it's not like you have to be someone that is, has like an official diagnosed substance use disorder to see that benefit. I'm seeing, at least anecdotally, from people who are just kind of those casual, quote unquote, social drinkers. And the fact that it's something that happens, it sounds like, at least anecdotally, that just happens subconsciously. You don't even have to think about it. You just don't want it.
At all. And we celebrate Shabbat every week, and typically you'll have a glass of wine on Shabbat, and like I'll put it out and I'll pour it, 1 or 2 sips. I'm just like, I don't want it.
Wow. What a win.
It's crazy.
What a win.